Wow, a lot has changed since the pandemic. But you know, this river bend, it hasn't changed at all. It's the same as it was 2 years ago, and I doubt there's been much modification in the last 1,000 years when first Americans came upon it and used it to fish and receive hydration and feeling accomplished, providing for their family, providing for their tribe, and also interacting with their environment, with their community. You know, I'm carrying this flag here. It's dear to me. I got it at my dad's funeral. And when he passed away, he made me realize how important it is for all Americans to be part of a team. And I'm referring to being employed. Every day he would go to work. Even though he had reached his 82nd year of life, he would go to work with motivation and with the desire to take care of his team, to provide for the goal of his organization, and also to be productive. So that's a very important part of being an American. Him having employment and being part of a team and being appreciated, in addition to all the other wonderful benefits, it gave him financial security. As many of you know, Social Security and retirement funds are not enough anymore, even if you're in your 80s. The same is true for people with autism. So, what are some statistics related to autism and employment? First of all, there are 5.2 million adults with autism in the US. This is from recent CDC statistics. And this doesn't even include the people that are undiagnosed or underdiagnosed, or the 17-year-olds who will soon be turning 18, entering the workforce, or trying to enter the workforce. Out of those 5.2 million, 1.2 million are female. So those are impressive numbers. Now, this is even more impressive or disappointing. 80 to 90% of those individuals are unemployed. 80 to 90%. And why are they unemployed? We're going to get to that. Another statistic is that those that are able to, the small percentage that are able to enter the workforce, gain employment, find a job, they usually leave that job within 1 year. And here's the reason why. They get burned out. Other reasons for burnout after a year include the fact that persons with autism have to work extra hard to fit in, to be accepted, to not offend anyone or make anyone stare at them. So a person with autism that receives relaxation from rocking, they have to fight all day long at work not to rock, and that takes tremendous amount of energy. Or a person with autism that gets nauseated by the smells of different perfumes and colognes, they have to pretend that everything is fine even though their nostrils are being bombarded by toxic elements to their system. So after a year of doing this, day in and day out, it starts to affect their diet, their appetite. It also affects their sleep. And this in turn affects their overall health, where they start to get a decline in well-being, not only from an emotional state, but from a physical, psychological state. So after a year, unfortunately, they have to end their employment. Now, if you talk to any person with autism that has successfully entered the job or the employment arena, they will tell you that they definitely want to be employed. And the same answer comes from those who have not yet or not allowed the opportunity. So here's the question. Why are persons with autism not employed? There are a lot of reasons. So could it be that persons with autism aren't employed because they lack the necessary traits that are desired in a team member or employee? Actually, that's not it at all. Research tells us, and self-advocates confirm, and any doctor that you talk to and experience from employers of persons with autism all agree that they possess qualities that are most desirable in the work environment. Qualities such as honesty, reliability, resilience, qualities of thinking outside the box, being creative, being very analytical with their data. They are able to interpret graphs and data charts. They are able to do activities, processes, and tasks repeatedly, over and over, day in, day out, without a decline in the quality of their work. So repetitive actions are not a problem for them. Persons with autism are also concise communicators. They do not put very much chit-chat or fluff in their communications. So if you just want the facts and you want it quickly, persons with autism would be my choice for that position. So that's not the reason, lacking desirable traits. Could it be that they lack education? Well, that's also not the case, because the qualities I just got through mentioning serve very well in academic setting, versus in secondary school, advanced studies, all the way to graduate school. Many persons with autism have multiple degrees, masters, PhDs, multiple doctorate degrees. So lack of education is not the issue. So what else could be keeping them from being unemployed? Is it the desire to work? That's also not the case. You just talk to any person with autism and they will let you know that they desire to be financially independent and contribute productively to society. So here is the answer. And for me, this is a big part of my efforts of doing these videos and a big part of the solution. So think about any job opportunity. The very first step is based on the interview. And interviews have been around for, I don't know, this would be a better question for a historian, but let's say it's been around for 500 years, the process of interviews, and I'm sure it's been longer in other forms. But interviews are based on social skills. When you go to an interview, it is expected that you, the applicant, perform the open sesame and then advance to the next level of the job interview or the job onboarding. That open sesame is an acronym that I've coined. S, shake hands. E, expressive body language. S, smile. A, avoid anxious activity and behavior. M, maintain eye contact. E, engage in chit-chat. That's the open sesame. Persons with autism are most likely unable to perform 1, 2, or 3, or any of these tasks. So if the interviewer for a company, a corporation, a business, accepts and engages with an applicant with that expectation that is 500 years, 1,000 years old, outdated and archaic, there is no possible way that they will be able to see the shiny diamond under the rough. That is the biggest obstacle for unemployment, is the interview process. So here is a good place to explain why persons with autism sometimes perform and exhibit unusual behaviors that are atypical. The term is stemming. So they are managing the stimulation from their environment, whether that is auditory, tactile, smell, taste, experience, people around them. They have to adjust because the way their brain processes sensory, it becomes overwhelming, uncomfortable, anxiety-inducing, and even painful. So that's why certain behaviors are odd, but in the mind of an autistic person, it is relaxing them, it is comforting them, it is reducing the anxiety. And after all, that's the desire that we all have, is to reduce anxiety, reduce stress, remove ourselves from unpleasant situations, and replace that with things that are relaxing, stress-free, and even pleasant. Oh, cool. There's a little turtle here. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see this. Hey, little guy, what are you doing? I know. Wow, I can't believe that. That was a perfect timing for that little turtle. Thanks. Thanks, little buddy. I'll talk to you later. So just like the turtle, when I came upon that turtle, the turtle was relaxed, was enjoying life here, eating leaves, chasing bugs, whatever turtles do. But when I came upon the scene, his head tucked in, you saw, his feet, his tail, everything went into the shell. And when he did that, he was reducing anxiety, he was feeling safe, he was feeling comforted. But let me ask you a question. When that turtle was in his shell, or her shell, I haven't figured out how to tell the difference in turtles. Did he stop thinking? Did he stop having the potential to reproduce and have 100 baby turtles? Did he stop planning his next meal? Did he stop exhibiting his beautiful shell and his marvelous role in the ecosystem? None of those things stopped. He simply needed to find comfort instead of anxiety. So I want you to remember that example anytime you're engaging with a person with autism, especially if you're in a hiring position. All right, well, we're almost done. If you don't mind, I'm just going to take a little break under this tree in the shade. So what do we need to do about the interview? Well, it needs to be redesigned. The interview process needs to be scrapped. It needs to be started over from the bottom. And in redesigning the interview for all corporations, businesses, anybody who's looking to hire, it has to focus more on the applicant. It has to be applicant-guided communication. And it needs to focus more on the applicant's abilities and skills and less on the applicant's deficits of social skills. In actuality, if you're going to hire someone and they're going to be with you long term, 10, 20, 30 years, what relevance is it going to have on that long life of productivity, success, and advancement based on the first 20 minutes of an interview? So I encourage anyone and everyone who's in charge of interviewing, who's in charge of evaluating, focus less on the open sesame. Focus less on that first impression. Instead, invest more effort and more tools in evaluating how the person thinks, how they solve problems, how they're able to interact with the true product of your organization or goal or experiment, whatever the task, whatever the goal, whatever the duty is. Is the goal of your organization to smile and chit-chat politely at the water fountain? Is the goal of your organization to sit in a meeting for hours and hours with the smell of perfume or the noise of multiple people talking or the bright artificial lights glaring in the eyes? If that's the goal of your organization, then this video is not for you. But if your goal is to find an employee who has all the qualities that are desired in a successful business, who's loyal, who's honest, doesn't even know how to lie or fake what they're feeling, and who can be productive beyond your expectations, then this is the video for you. All right, so in conclusion, I want to remind you, future leaders are spectrum heroes. That's what FLASH stands for. And thank you for your time. I'm going to now go and see if I can jump in this water and try out my new boat. I just got a new boat. And maybe I'll run across some of the turtle's buddies. So thanks for listening. I'll see you soon. My new boat. My new boat. My new boat.